on participation and standings in conference play and has become the symbol of overall sports excellence among high schools in North Carolina. I signed that this day, and I'll give it to, I believe, the athletic director, Sean Shofi. Shafi is here. I knew I'd chop up your name.
That's okay.
It's worse than mine, but thank you for coming,
Thank you.
and I'll hand this to you.
Thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome to make any additional comments, Sean, as well, if you'd like. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Do you have the cup with you? Would you like to show it to them?
Oh,
This
he does
is
have
actually
the cup.
the cup that the state sends us.
Oh, yeah.
This is our second one in the last 3 years, so it's
Awesome.
definitely an honor. Coaches and athletes work very hard.
Great job you guys are doing over there.
Thank you, sir.
Please give them our appreciation for the work that they do with our students and growing them into great student athletes. So thank you
sir.
for that.
Thank you. man.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I
Thank
think,
you.
think you have work cut out next year to move up a class, I see.
Yes, we'll be 4A next year. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Awesome. The next item on our agenda is a review of our 2019-2020 budget audit. And I believe we've got Ms. Phyllis Pearson here, who's going to provide us with a summary of our audit.
Pages 7 and 8 in the booklet, if you want to follow along, or you can just listen. We audited the financial statements of the governmental activities, the business type activities, the discretely presented component unit in each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information. Your responsibility is the preparation and fair presentations of financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States. And that includes maintaining your internal control that prevents fraud or error. Our responsibility is to take the underlying documents that support the amounts in the financial statements and audit them. And when we have accumulated enough audit evidence, we render an opinion. We have rendered an unmodified or clean audit opinion, in that we found the financial statements to be fairly presented and in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. In the statements, you will find management's discussion, analysis, and pension schedules. The pension schedules are prepared by the state auditor. Basically, they provide us with information, and we're basically typing it. That's not really auditing, so we don't render any opinion on those. And since management's discussion and analysis is your explanation of the statements, we don't render an opinion on that document as well. We have budgetary schedules, individual fund schedules where you have non-major funds that are combined. They're in the back of the report. Because those things do reconcile and were tested with audit procedures, we've rendered an unmodified or clean audit opinion on those. We don't have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies or non-compliance noted in our testing. So if we go to page 23, this is the statement of net position on the full accrual basis of accounting. The town held $27 million in assets. $22 million of that is property, plant, and equipment. And you have a little over $4 million in cash. You had deferred outflows of resources, all of which relate to pension plans. And so this is an asset that's going to be used in future years. Is $425,000. Total current liabilities were $1 million. Of that, $612 is the current portion of your long-term debt, your notes payable, bonds, things of that nature. Total long-term liabilities were $4.6 million. Total liabilities, $5.6 million. Deferred inflows of resources, which are going to be used in future years, and with the exception of $18,000, which is a grant revenue, relate to the pension and post-employment benefit plans. That's $85,000. Your net position on the full accrual basis of accounting is $22.1 million. Page 24 is a statement of activities, and in government accounting, we start with expenses as sort of backwards from a for-profit. Your total expenditures were $5.8 million. Total charges for services, and this includes your water and sewer fund, is $3.6 million. Operating grants were $98,000. Your total general fund revenues, general revenues were a little over $4 million, so you had a change in net position of $1.9 million. Now, these are full accrual statements. They've got debt in it, they've got the long-term assets, and they've got the pension numbers. That number looks really great, but it's not the number the council would make decisions on. But it is required because we do two bases of accounting in your audit report. Total assets on page 25, your governmental funds were $3.5 million. Total liabilities, $237. Total deferred inflows of resources, which is largely property taxes receivable, are $90,000. And then your total fund balances are $3.1 million. Of that, $2.6 million is the unassigned general fund balance, and then the capital projects has $210,000 in unassigned fund balance. The $2.6 million is the dollars that are available for the council to use. It is direct discretion, direction, however you'd like to go. There is a recommendation that that number not exceed, let's see, be greater than 8% of your general expenditures, which you meet. But you could spend quite a bit of it and not have any issues with that requirement. On page 26, the total revenues are $4.4 million. You spent $4.5 million. That was revenues over expenditures of $30,000. Expenditures over revenues of $30,000. And then you had total other financing sources of $1 million. And we net those to get $1,021,000. That's your change in your revenues and expenditures on the modified accrual basis of accounting. And that takes you to the ending fund balances. Page 27 is just a reconciliation between the two statements, and I've explained that in general terms. Page 28 is the general fund budget to actual comparison. What is significant about this statement, it has exactly the same numbers I've gone over in the other schedules, is your total expenditures are $3.5 million. You budgeted $4 million, so you have no budget overages. If there was anything in brackets in this expenditure category, it would be a finding. You don't have that situation. So that's what's significant about that. Your instructions were followed. That's what you want to see. Page 29 is the water and sewer fund. The water and sewer fund had $17 million in total assets. $15 million of that is property, plant, and equipment, and that's pretty much a normal trend, is that the distribution system for water and sewer is usually the high dollar amount in these statements. Deferred outflows of resources, $61,000, and again, that deals with their share of the pension plan. Total liabilities, $2.1 million. Deferred inflows of resources was a negative $5,000, and again, it's the pension information. And then the total net position is $15 million. Your unrestricted amount, which is the amount you are required to maintain, was $1,800,000. Page 30, the water and sewer fund brought in operating revenues of $3 million. Operating expenses were $2.2 million. The operating income was $816,000. You had $30,000 in interest expense on your debt, $24,000 on the gain on sale of equipment. So the non-operating revenue was $6,500, and it was a negative number. So it reduces your net income to $810,000, but you've budgeted and you spent in accordance with your budget, that your revenues would cover your expenditures, which is the state requirement. These funds have to be self-sustaining. Page 31 is the statement of cash flows. On June 30th, cash had increased $518,000 in the fund. That increase is due to the improvements in the cash received from customers, as well as controlling your expenditures. Then the notes began, and the notes are pretty much the same as in prior years. You have modified accrual and accrual statements, and the way you recognize revenues explained in here. The net fund balances, net position, those are explained as to what definitionally what they mean. The substance of the notes starts on page 43. And we talk about the fact that you had deposits that were covered by federal depository insurance, as well as under the pooling method that the state has, so that your cash was fully insured. We also note that your investment in North Carolina Capital Management Trust is fully insured, even though you have not adopted a policy regarding credit risk. Page 44 is the notes to the statements starting with receivables, allowances for doubtful accounts. This is just to explain to you information that is combined in the basic statements, so you know what they are. Page 45 and 46 is the details on the fixed assets for the governmental activities and for the business type activities. And then page 47 is because you have a discretely presented component unit, this is the information for the ABC board. Then on page 48 through, it goes on page 59. Those footnotes deal with the accounting for your retirement, state retirement plan, and the law enforcement officer separation allowance, as well as the post employment plan. Let's see. The pension plan, you have a liability for $584,000. That is your share of the state's plan. It is paid off through your contributions every pay period. You know, and it changes as the employees change. The liability for the law enforcement's retirement plan is $502,000. It tends to be higher because of the type of work, the population, as well as the fact that they aren't employed as long. And then if we go to page 57, we talk about the post-employment benefit liability, and that's for health insurance or other post-employment benefits you pay your employees when they terminate. The liability for that is $215,000. The driving increase in this liability is the cost of health care, like it is anywhere else. That's what comes about with that. And then page 60 describes your commercial insurance. You meet the state requirements as far as your bonding requirements. The finance officer must be $50,000. That is met. You have a capital lease. You have notes payable, and we've just provided for you the details so you can see how the numbers that are in the first set of statements come about and what it's composed of. You have a legal debt margin of $35 million on page 64. So if I were to summarize this is a very good audit. We have a clean opinion. We had very little adjustments to the statements we were provided by your staff, and the audit went well and timely. There was no changing in accounting policies or estimates. It's very similar to last year. And it's a difficult time to be conducting an audit, but it will be on time because the deadline is January 31st, unlike prior years. Questions?
Questions, comments? A quick question for you then. If I go back to page 43, the ABC board has not a not formal policy regarding the custodial credit risk for deposits. Is that a requirement, or is that something that you suggest we do, or?
It's a good policy to have if you have, particularly if you have excess cash and you want to invest it, maybe earn a little interest, which these days, that's very hard. It's not a real requirement.
Okay.
Okay, but the requirement is that the auditor make sure it's disclosed in the notes that you don't have one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments? Sure, Ms. Pearson will be available if needed, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you for
having me.
coming out, absolutely.
Certainly, my pleasure.
I'm sure you can spend some extra nights, sleepless nights reading over the audit, get more familiar with it. And,
I said I read that the last couple of days.
yeah, good, good.
Yeah. The only other comment I had was on page 65, that land we sold, it said a well, it was actually the land. The well just happened to have been there, right?
Right, yeah, yeah,
I just picked up.
I
on
saw that.
yeah.
I had made a note on the same thing you did.
Okay.
Ask about.
Okay. Good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next agenda item is any comments from elected officials and staff. So I'll start with Mr. Harris.
Only comments I was, I saw the holiday video that got put out there, and thank the staff and Emily and all the staff that worked on putting that together. The holiday video is very good. And thanks to Councilman Now for bringing back the suggestion, instead of just being us by ourselves, we had our family in there. And she said, you know, you made that comment. My grandkids were tickled to death to be part of the video. So I want to thank you there. And the comments at the end, if you haven't read them, it shows why it's a good thing to be part of this town. A lot of people made nice comments to us for doing all that stuff. So makes you kind of proud when that happens. The other thing is recognize Steve again for an excellent audit. We just got to figure out how to keep him around a little bit longer. And then if you haven't drove out through ESC Park, there's a lot of close to looking like two complete ball fields back there now. A lot of the backstop posts are up, the fence is up on the sides. Hopefully we can get past this COVID-19 and head for the ball field in the spring.
Mr. Hinkle.
I just wanted to, George took away a little bit of my thunder there, but I want to particularly, given what we just heard from our CPA auditing firm, and I just kind of piggyback on what I've already said at the agenda briefing, that Steve continues to do a great job with our finances, and I don't want to think about the day that he'll no longer be with us. Hopefully his good work will continue in the person that comes behind him, but again, talking today, thank you very much for your diligence and hard work, and you know, always bringing back an unqualified, clean bill of health on our finances. So thank you very much on that. Again, staff, I agree with you. The video is excellent. I looked at it a couple times this afternoon and was very impressed with it. And as I think I said in one of my emails, even though we had to do a lot of canceling this year and quarantining and that sort of thing, we still showed our citizens that we've got the Christmas spirit amongst our staff and council and volunteers, and we want to share some of that. And it's great, and we're making the best. We're making the best of a hard time. So I want to thank everybody for that.
Ms. Williams.
Basically, the same thing. I wanted to thank Emily, Paxton, Tina, and Steve, and any others for the video. It was nice. Thank you, Eddie, for the suggestion of the families. I think that made it a little bit nicer for everyone. And since we couldn't celebrate the upcoming holidays the way we usually do at the tree lighting, I think that was a very good alternative.
So now,
Yes, I'd like to thank the Parks and Rec staff and all the volunteers for making the town look so wonderful and beautiful and great for the holiday season. It looks phenomenal. And I'd like to wish all our residents a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And please stay healthy and safe for 2021. Thank you.
great. I won't go too far into some of the same comments, but again, it's appreciated by myself and the council for all the good work that staff has done this year. It has been a taxing year. Starting that March 15th, as somebody says, that official date for the kickoff of COVID. Seems like it's been a couple of years ago, but clearly a lot has happened and changed. And so, again, I appreciate the work that staff has done to keep our town moving, keep the water bills processed and sewer bills processed, and the time it's taken to even just think about options in our Parks and Rec, and all the upfit that has happened, and just the normal day-to-day things that Public Works does, and all of our police officers keeping us safe throughout the year. Again, I can't say enough about just the normal things that all of our staff does to make our town work. And Angela and Danielle and the folks on the front end just clearly keeping things going, and Emily is in her normal way. All the special projects like the video that she jumps in and helps out with. So again, I really appreciate it, and I think you heard that from the council. Welcoming Paxton on board as our, I thought he was in Parks and Rec, but now he's IT. So just, no telling. But again, we appreciate, the work that you all do. To our citizens, again, please be safe during the holiday season. I've got kind of an inside track with our hospitals, and they are filling up. And it's really a concern that, again, we're not exempt from this virus. And we hope that, again, keep your distance, wear your mask. I don't have mine on right this moment, but wear your mask and wash your hands, as they say. But again, do whatever is common sense for you to protect yourself and your family, is what I say. And so, again, we appreciate the support over the last year from our citizens, as these were difficult times this year. But again, we really appreciate that. With that, I'll turn it over to Steve for any staff comments.
Yeah, I don't have much to say tonight, just the fact that our search for a planning director continues, and we'll keep you updated on that as it progresses. I know that Emily is working on the Mask Up program and going around and getting photos and everything, so kudos to her for that, and to you for bringing that forward to us. I think it's always good to get the word out, and certainly I think you'll be pleased with it when it's finished.
Right.
That's all I have as far as staff.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, one question, and I know there's just, you're limited to what you can say, and I understand that, but are we close to filling that position of planning director, or are we far away,
Well,
or somewhere in between?
I would say I've been working with Steve and the committee on this process. We did think we were close, and we've gotten pretty far down the road, but it's still a work in progress. And so we're hopeful that within the next couple of weeks we'll have something a little bit more definitive and we can move forward, starting for the first of the year. I think that's our goal.
Mayor, this is just simply from the Monday meeting. Maybe something has changed, but my memory was you were going to make some announcement related to the open position.
Absolutely. And Kim had a copy for all of the staff. At least one member in our community has expressed an interest in the vacant position that will be filled for Councilman Paul Bryant, who, due to family issues, had to resign. And so we are welcoming applications and resumes or letters of interest between now and December 31st. We'll have it posted on our social media platforms, and appreciate any interest folks may have for council to consider at our January meeting. Any questions or comments? I don't know if anybody else has spoken to anyone in that regard, but again, we hope to have an answer for folks after we get a chance to look at some of those letters of interest. I would say that in our usual fashion, we're hoping to recognize Mr. Bryant at the January meeting for his service to the town. So.
I think, thinking back on this, since Monday, and I think it was mentioned somewhere along the line, may have not been on Monday, that we interview these people. I think it would be good once we have their resumes or letter of interest, if we could come up with some questions and let them go through, similar to a forum, what we do during an election year, just to get their interest and uptake on what's going on with the town, and they know what's going on.
I would remind you that they are be aware that if you do that as a group, that'll have to be a formal open meeting of the council.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Kim, have we had some already?
We have one application, and there has been interest expressed by someone else, but they haven't sent anything.
Okay. Well, I had someone message me today about it, and I told them that they needed to send that in to you, and they said maybe today, but in the next 2 days they would have something in.
Well, they have till December 31st, so
Okay.
whenever they can get it in.
I'll let that
be great.
person know.
Okay, great. All right. Is that it, Steve? All right, great. All right, the next item on our agenda then is closed session. I would ask for a motion to go into closed session, again pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A 5 to discuss acquisition of property, and pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A 6 to discuss a personnel matter. And at least on the first two matters, I would ask that both Kim and Steve and actually Steve and Gary also to be here, and we'll invite Mr. White back in the room on our ladder. So, thank you.
And Mayor, if you anticipate action back in open session, then action obviously will need to stay or come back or whatever has to happen to return to live stream.
Okay. Yeah, Paxton. So, if you, to Gary's point, So we may go into closed session, but we may have some action on these items. So we would ask that you come back in after closed session, maybe start the live stream back up. So, thank you. So at this time, I accept the motion to go into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Give Paxton a